everyone, and welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to talk about how I rate my nonfiction, and then we're going to do a little haul. So the reason I'm combining these two videos is, one, it's Nonfiction November, and I really wanted to talk about how I rate nonfiction, as I feel like that's really important for me to talk about, but also I feel like that's really interesting as it is Nonfiction November. And secondly, the haul is something that I'm doing to keep myself accountable with the books I'm buying, the books I'm bringing into my home, and it is not a big haul. So I'm going to put that on at the very end, and I will have timestamps if you are interested in only the haul and you don't want to do my how I rate nonfiction. But also if you're only interested in how I rate nonfiction, you can watch the first half of the video and you can just sign off there. So how I rate nonfiction. I rate nonfiction depending on the type. So the first type that we're going to talk about here is memoirs and autobiographies. Let's actually talk about memoirs first. So memoirs are books that are by people about their lives. Now, with that particular kind of book, you're not rating, or at least I'm not rating their story. I'm not rating their personal experience, because you cannot, in my personal opinion, rate what they've gone through, because every person's journey and, own events have, shaped them. It is not something I feel like that you can dictate. I feel like you can also rate the editing style and the writing style, how the book is put together cohesively, and if there, especially if an extra writer on the project, that is also going to factor into how I rate the book overall, if it gets a higher rating or not, depending on the writing style. So if it flows, if it is easy to read, and if it is more concise to the point, or if it jumps around, those are all things that I do take into account. I don't take into account how the journey impacts me. I do take into account how the story was put together. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Next, let's talk about autobiographies, let's talk about books that are biographies. So books that are written by other people. I like to take into account how biased it is and how much information is put in there. So if it's someone's child that's writing the book, I don't mind. I would like to take into account, though, how much information is put in there and how many sources are involved. How much can I trust this person's accounts so I know if it is actual fact? Because it's nonfiction, I don't want a fictionalized event, if that makes sense. Also, when it comes to things like that, I hope that I can trust the narrator, who is, in a sense, our author. When it comes to other historical events, I read a lot of history books. I need to know that the sources are accurate and footnoted. I don't always read all the footnotes, but when I do read footnotes, I would like to see them, showing the author has actually done the research. And when that proves to me that the author knows their stuff, that does get a higher rating from me. But at the same time, I am rating the content, the quality, the writing style, how easy it is for me to read the whole thing, everything combined. So that's kind of how I can understand nonfiction as a whole. Now, when it comes to other nonfiction, whether it be like sciencey nonfiction or learning nonfiction, I do rate it also on how much I learn, how much it is informative to me, or, because I tend to read a lot of nonfiction about how it pertains to me as an educator, how informative this would be if I didn't know much about my field, or it gets a really high rating if I didn't know much about a certain area of that book, or if it teaches me something brand new I would have never thought of. So I do try to give higher ratings for those kind of areas. I do think, though, that when it comes to those kind of nonfiction books, you can rate them depending on the content. It's just a matter of what kind of content you are looking at. So when it comes to someone's personal journey, different story in my opinion, because personal journeys are different for everybody. And I'm not going to judge someone who has not had a very scary journey compared to someone who has a very tremendous journey. I'm not going to rate someone who has had a very harrowing journey, maybe surviving World War II, on the same level as someone who went hitchhiking for a year. That's not going to get the same level of rating if I'm going to rate on quality of content, because those are not the same journeys, and I'm not going to do that to the authors. But I will rate them based on the editing, based on my intrigue of their style, or based on the flow of the book. Those different things I am very intrigued about based on the format. If they have formatting, I do like to see those in the way that they style nonfiction. Another thing about nonfiction is that I don't rate based on the narrator of an audiobook. Unless it is very crucial to the actual experience. I can think of one audiobook especially. I'm gonna keep going even though the fan is still running. I'm so sorry. I can think of one audiobook that's nonfiction that I don't think has a physical book, which is okay. And that would be the only one which I would rate according to the narrator, because I believe the audiobook is the only format which I could rate. So other than that, I don't rate based on the narrator, as the physical book is more important than the narrator itself. I do on audiobooks rate according to narration, but I don't take that into account when I put my rating into Goodreads or Storygraph, because I feel like that's doing a disservice to the book if the narrator was not great. The last thing to say about the nonfiction rating scale that I have is that it's very reflective of my own personal rating scale, which I will be doing a new video of in December. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you are interested in how I rate my books and what star rating means what. But I do try my best to be fair to nonfiction, in spite of nonfiction being each person's personal journey and personal story. However, I do understand that it is a very tricky scale sometimes. So when it comes to personal journeys and personal stories, I do take that into very much a caring and very reflective scoring level. So let's get into my little haul. It's very small. It's only 14 books. I was very good this month. So let's just do a quick going over of what I bought. The first book was James Patterson and Liza Markland. I got The Postcard Killer. This cover intrigued me. I didn't actually buy it. I got it for free on a little library tour again. I didn't film this one though. So this one was very kindly given to me via dropping off extra books and getting this one. But yes, this cover looks intriguing, and I'm excited to try James Patterson. I've never read, maybe I've read one book, but I don't think I have, so that'll be fun. I also have found this month purchased 2 books in a series, which I've read one, which is Jurassic Park, and I loved it. And I need to read Lost World by Michael Crichton. So both of these books are by Michael Crichton. Yes, Jurassic Park, I have never watched the movie yet. Still, it's on my to-watch list, but I need to get into them. So Michael Crichton is someone who I had never read before until I read Jurassic Park. So yeah, Lost World is still on my want to read list, highly up there, and I'm excited to get to it very soon. I want to read it while I'm still interested in the series or the duology. Then I got Wicked by Gregory Maguire. This one is something I really would like to read. I would love to watch the musical of Wicked, and I'm just not close enough to a theater that's playing it. So I want to read Wicked as soon as possible. Maybe I'll read it for a retelling prompt in a readathon or something, but I would love to. And I do love the world of Oz, even though I'm slowly working my way through the books. So yes. I also got a nonfiction. So yay. Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. This one is about Everest when several people died. This is about a disaster, I guess, and it happened in the 90s. So this is one where I would rate it according to the flow of the book, because it's about someone's personal journey. But yes, I am very excited to read this one. I've heard a lot of good things about this, and I have really wanted to read it for a while now. So I was glad to find a copy. I also have found a few classics, which is exciting. So one of them was Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. This one made its rounds for Victober, and I would love to read it. All I know is that it's a sensation novel, and that Lady Audley is keeping some sort of secret, and I think her nephew or her husband's nephew is trying to discover the secret. I don't want to know anything else though. I really want to go in blind pretty much. So I know that everyone has been pretty much enjoying this one. So that's all I really want to know. Then I also picked up Eveline by Frances Burney. I also have an Audible version of this, so I could listen to it. But the back says that this is a sequel to a book that was never published. So that's also intriguing. And this one was published in 1778. So I'm excited to give this one a shot. I have read, obviously, Jane Austen, if you have watched my channel for a while, and this one was published before Jane Austen. So yes, I don't know much else, and I would like to give it a try. So like I said, I have the audiobook as well. Then I also picked up in September, Hold the Light by April McGowan. This one is a Christian fiction about a woman who is in the foster system, or she found out that she was adopted, and well, the back says that she first found out she was abandoned. She was first abandoned as a toddler, and then she goes to a doctor's appointment, and she finds out that she has a recessive gene or something where her eyes are going to eventually be blinded. So she is trying to hold on to the light as long as possible, but also trying to deal with the fact that she's going to be blind very shortly. So this has blind rec in it, and I'm excited to get to it. I meant to read it September. I forgot about it. So now that I've seen this book, I need to push it back up on my list. I also picked up this one, which I found, this is book 2 in the Percy Jackson series. So this is City of Monsters. I own the whole series, but my friend is borrowing this one that I own, and I don't want to put any pressure on her in case I want to reread the series. So I figured I'd pick up this copy, and I like how they all look together. This cover, or these spines, it looks so great. So I'm going to be putting that with my other books. I also found The Snowman by Joan Nesbo. I have read this one before, loved it. And I thought it was so gritty, and I remember reading it at Christmas time, and I was like enthralled. But I am excited to pick it up. There's blood on the corner there. So I do have a small pocketbook size one, or mass market paperback, I should say. So I am going to be putting this one on my shelves and getting rid of the mass market paperback size. So I'm glad to have found a bigger one now. I also found by Rick Riordan, which I am thrilled. I've been looking for this one for probably a year and a half now, which is The Red Pyramid. So this one is the first book in the Kane Chronicles, and this is the first in the Ancient Egypt series that he has written. I've really wanted to try this series. I've just been waiting to find the first book in the series somewhere, and I didn't want to order it, so I finally found it. And this one I don't know anything about. I just know it's about ancient Egypt mythology, which I love. So there we go. I also picked up another classic, which is The Black Tulip by Alexander Dumas. So Alexander Dumas is someone who I have really had hit or miss. I loved The Count of Monte Cristo, did not like Three Musketeers, and this one's a short one that it talks about, you know, being really interesting at the back. So I hope that I could really enjoy this one. I have another one of his books on my shelves, but now I have 2 that I need to read, at least try and see if I like his work or not. You know, because I really like one and really didn't like the other. I also found this one, which is The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I am about a third into this book, and I need to get further in, but I did not have a physical copy, so now I do. I found this one while we were doing free little libraries, so grabbed it. And this is a nice, beautiful edition. It is also one I did not have before of the Kate Quinn's books, so I'm glad to own it now. And yes, I'm very excited, and I was enjoying it, but it was just a little bit of a slog. And everyone in my book club said, you just need to push past that chapter and then it's good. So I just need to pick it up again, and now I have a reason. The last book I have in my haul is The Lion Game by Ruth Ware. I found this one, and it was buy 4, get the 5th free, so I grabbed this one for that. I've enjoyed all of Ruth Ware's books. They're not perfect by any means, but they're easy to read, they're fun to read. Even if I figured them out, why not? So I picked this one up, and I'm sure if I ever get to it, I will fly through it. because I do with all of her books. They're all fun and fast-paced. So yeah, that's my 14th book, and that's it for how I rate nonfiction and how my haul, I guess I should say. So please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you are new here. Please let me know down below in the comments how you rate nonfiction, and if I should read any of these books, push them up to the top of my TBR pile. What you think of these books, if you have read them before, or if you want a buddy read any of these books, please let me know. Also, if you haven't hit that notification bell, you always can, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.